Hi, and welcome to week 2. Sorry that it was thrown off a little bit with Labor Day, but we will have our live lectures starting next Monday. Starting next Monday. This week, we're going to continue working on your knock-knock joke. Due this Sunday, your 10-panel storyboard. If you have any questions on how things are going, or you want me to look at anything more in particular, always feel free to email me. This week we only have one discussion board. This is to submit your knock-knock joke. Now, you only have this one discussion due by Wednesday, but also by Sunday. What I mean by that is I want you to make your original post by Wednesday. I want you to submit your knock-knock joke here, knowing that it isn't due until Sunday, so you can really start building a discussion and a critique about your joke. So this is a great way to get to know your classmates. When you're looking at somebody's post, I know you're all going to be tempted to be like, I like it. This looks great. But what I need you to do is to make sure you're talking about why things are working well. I really feel like visually you're showing the knock-knock joke as well as telling it. I think your level of zoom on the character works really well. Think about your angles with this. Make sure you talk about what could be improved. Now again, this doesn't mean that something is wrong. You're not saying it's bad. You're just saying, you know what? Did you try thinking about it from this angle? Have you thought about setting up your scene? And today I'm going to talk about framing a little bit more, so you can kind of look at the framing now that we have this lecture under our belt, and you can see what you think with the framing is successful. Okay, so what's working well? What could be improved or suggestions for improvement? And most importantly, why? Okay, so get in here. I mean, if you posted on Monday, even better. You can repost. I always recommend posting works in progress so that you can get feedback as you're working on it. Okay, so this week just this one discussion board, and then your project due Sunday. Any questions, do not hesitate to email me. So, with storyboarding, one of the most important kind of things that we look at are your shots, aka the shot panels, and how they are framed. So, frame size is based on how close or how far your camera is away from your subject. Now, how do we decide? Well, should it be a real close-up or should it be an environmental shot? You want to make sure you have these ideas before you get going. That's why we talk about sketching your ideas and getting your main kind of angles and movements down before you make, semi-final storyboards so that you can tell if it's working beforehand. Generally, directors are kind of the last call on what the shot should be. But generally, we start with an establishing shot. This sets your setting and can also put your characters in the environment. If we start with a close-up, you'll see the character, but you might not know where they are, and you might not be able to tell. Again, as artists, we're telling our viewers what they need to know, right? So maybe it's important that you know the setting. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it doesn't matter where the person is. They're just going through something or doing something. Then you could start with kind of a more close-up shot. If you're trying to develop a relationship between characters, you might want to go to more of a medium shot. Now I have this picture here kind of for framing heights with a character. If we have a medium shot, kind of hip-ish area and up, that's a nice way to set up a relationship between characters because you can see enough to gain emotion, to see how they're standing. If your characters are really tense and their shoulders are up and they're kind of leaning in or out, you can get that nonverbal cue easily with a medium shot. Close-ups are really to show emotion and to get personality. think about how much emotion we show in our face. You know, a lot of emotions can be full body, and I like to, you know, if I'm animating or doing something like that, we want to get the full body involved. But your eyes, eyebrows, lips, cheeks all show so much emotion, and to get to know your character, we'd use some sort of a close-up. If you're ever needing to like kind of reorient your viewer, you'll go back to a long shot or a medium shot. Long shot is kind of like the full shot as well. So this whole thing here. Generally, a long shot is more of an environmental scene than just this character. So, I'm going to talk about some different types of angles. All right. Why not get a little green in your life, right? All right, so we have the long shot. Sorry, that was a lot of setup. I'm sorry, we're not even starting with the long shot. Before that, we have the extreme long shot. Now, what this is it's really going to set up your environment. The extreme long shot establishes the context for the shots that follow by setting up the location. Extreme long shots are typically used to depict the vastness of an area, such as a city, a skyline, suburban neighborhood, or a farm. We typically see extreme long shots as the opener of a film or scene. Western films really follow kind of the same pattern, the same formula in all of their movies. So it's kind of interesting to take a look. You'll see that the extreme long shot is kind of the way that everything is set up. You know, if you imagine if it's high noon and the sheriff and the bad guy are about to face off, we're going to open that scene seeing the entire streetway, you know, their like main street section where this whole shootout is going to take place. You know, if you have a character that's moving to the city, or, you know, think about if you've seen Zootopia. When she's moving to Zootopia, we get these great environmental shots to set up what we're going to experience. So you're kind of showing the full environment so that as the scene continues, you can get a closer look and kind of fill in the pieces to what made up that extreme long shot. All right, next, we just have our long shot. So instead of extreme, meaning, you know, very zoomed out, we have our long shot. Also could be called the wide shot. You're going to want to get used to these because you're going to be using them in a lot of your storyboards. You're going to want to write down what kind of shot you're doing, even though you're drawing it, because you want to make sure that as the viewers, we know what you're trying to tell us. So you may say extreme long shot to set up the scene of the mountains. But then in your actual storyboard, you may draw, you know, more of a full shot or something like that. So we would tell you. So you're going to write down what shots you're using. The long shot shows the location, the subject, and the action. So we can kind of get this like answered questions of where are we, who are we with, and why are we there? Okay, so the long shot kind of establishes that. It's one of the most important kind of shots you can use because it sets up the full elements of the scene. Like the openness of a field or a ranch. These types of shots can also set a mood. So like, is it stormy out? Is it a gorgeous sunny day and your character's running through a small field? You know, whatever it is. All right. We'll just do it this way. Full shot. So full, and we looked at it here. This is where we're starting now to get a full character shot. So we're showing the entire height of a person. Head is going to be near the top of the frame, feet near the bottom. You want to avoid cutting off any part of the person when you have a full shot. This is going to show a human's body language and kind of give off some personality that way. Note that when you are doing a full shot, give a little bit of space. You know, if we have this character again and I want to do a full shot, but I have him like this. This causes a lot of tension because we have just this little bit here and just this little bit here that's been cut off. As a designer, you never want to do that. Again, it just draws attention to these sections. There's no real need for it. You're just drawing attention because it's cut through. You want to make sure that you either cut with purpose, you know, like his head like that, or give a little bit of breathing room. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of breathing room. Again, this works for all your designs. You want to give a little bit of space for the viewer to kind of rest as they go around and look at your design. Okay? So the full shot. Next, we have the medium shot. Medium shot frames an individual from the waist or knees up. Again, we can reference this again. Let me scale it down a little bit. Our medium shot, showing the audience just enough to make them feel like they're looking at the full character, but they're not necessarily seeing the actual full character. They're used for dialogue between like 2 or 3 individuals. You want to make sure they all kind of fit on the stage, but you want to be able to be close enough to tell what they're actually saying. That way too, if a character is moving their arms around, generally, you know, when we talk, depending upon how animated we are, that'll allow us to see the arm positionings as well. And there's enough background visible to provide information on the location if need be. So it's kind of crazy how, as the storyboard artist, you need to think about not only the action, but how am I going to translate that action to a camera the most successful way that I can. You need to think about the environment. You need to think about what's happening to the character. What's going to happen next? Where will it make the viewer look, and how will that affect the next panel? There's just constant things that you guys need to be thinking of as you are making these. All right, moving right along. The close-up. There are variations on the close-up, as we've seen. Most basic shows the character from like the shoulder area through the top of the head. They're used quite often in television, especially in like soap operas or in interview type shows, because you get a connection with the character. You're seeing again all of the little things that are happening in their facial expression, any minor movements they have, maybe eye wandering, maybe some tenseness in the shoulders, but it's a nice close-up view, but we're not extreme, so we still have a little bit of space. It gives kind of an intimate feeling, like it's you and this character, whatever they're going through. Also, just because this says close-up and it's of the face, like in this picture, it doesn't have to be that way. You can do a medium shot or a close-up shot or an extreme close-up of an object, of a different body part. You know, if it's like a horror movie and you hear the door handle shaking, you might do a close-up then of the hand shaking the doorknob. All right. Then we have the extreme close-up. Your extreme close-up is going to be cutting the face if you're doing it of the face. Obviously, you can do it of props and different body parts still too. This is really used to create tension, mystery, emotion. It's designed to show details. You know, maybe if a tear is falling from the eye and you really want to see it happening, you're going to use an extreme close-up. The shot is designed to show the detail of the face, such as the mouth, or, again, if we wanted to do that doorknob hand example. Trying to think of some other examples, but like if you were to give somebody a Christmas gift that they were really looking forward to and they were beyond excited, but they weren't really jumping for joy, you might do a real close-up of the eyes and show them enlarging, show their pupils getting bigger, the extreme smile on their face. Okay? So a lot of things to think about with how you're going to frame things. Now, we also have different shot names. We have like a single shot, which is just basically for one person. I don't need you to know these quite as much as I want you to be able to talk about the angles, but I do want you to be aware that they're there. A two shot, kind of just like what it sounds like. Generally going to have two characters on the frame. Insert shot. Insert shot is generally the close-up of an action or object. Okay, so maybe a close-up of the clock ticking with 1 minute left before school lets out. That's an insert shot. Now, on top of that, again, I want you to know these distances, and I also want you to be able to know the angles. Okay, so we have a few angled shots that I want to talk about. Now, these can get a little bit more complicated, so I'm going to do a few today, and then we'll do a few next week. Okay, we have the high angle shot. Our high angle shot is a camera placed up higher, looking down at your subject. It's not directly overhead, it's a little bit of an angle. Okay? High angled shots provide the audience with variety and often suggest a character's insignificance in the world. So, why would this feel like insignificance? Well, if I'm looking down at something, that means that I'm larger than it, or I'm more important than it, or I'm kind of like reviewing it. So it's a way to make somebody feel small. Okay? So a high angle shot makes somebody feel a little bit small. I have my cap lock on. Okay, so here is a great couple of examples to get where the character is powerless, vulnerable and powerless. This is a great kind of example here because we're seeing it from above. And feel free to, always get references and do research. So the opposite of our high angle shot, you may have guessed, is a low angle shot. Now, a low angle shot is the opposite because we've got our camera down low and we're looking upward at something. So we're automatically giving that subject power, dominance, height. It generally makes for something exciting. That extreme kind of angle, something is happening in the scene. You may do like a low angle shot of the president to show their importance, or a killer might make them feel more menacing or more powerful in that shot angle. A lot of times if you have a little kid and a parent, you may do a low angle shot from the kid's view. high angle shot from the parents. Okay, so the low angle shot, we're kind of looking up at our characters, seeing the wet bandits from Home Alone, you know, from Kevin's view. If you haven't seen Home Alone, highly recommend. We got some Men in Black, Fantastic Fox, but it makes them look powerful, important. So what's in the middle, we have an eye level shot. Now, this is just a neutral shot where the camera is positioned at eye level with the character. Camera looks directly in the eye when the audience is meant to identify as an equal. So, you know, we talked about dominance and power versus, you know, lack of importance. This is kind of that middle ground. We're just looking straight at them, right on. Okay? Now, if we want to create kind of further atmosphere, we have a bird's eye view. Now, the bird's eye view is a different approach from our high angle by positioning the camera directly overhead. Generally, this is going to be a little bit more zoomed out than our high angle. It allows our audience to look down on buildings, bridges within a scene. It's a little bit of more of an establishing view. Okay, so setting up the scene, getting some interesting angles. Okay. We have a tilt shot. Now that involves the camera actually moving, and we're going to get into more camera movements, but know that there is a canted shot where we're getting kind of an angle on the character, and a tilt shot where we have the camera tilt. We have a 3/4 shot. Our 3/4 shot is known as the 45-degree shot. It's the strongest composition by positioning our camera between the frontal straight-on view and a profile. So, you know, if you've ever drawn your concept art, we generally do a straight on, a straight side, and then the 3/4 view. So it's just an angle. You're more moving your character than the we'll do angle. Okay, so getting a 3/4 view on your character. It gives you a relationship between the character and the background. You know, I don't know if any of you are in theater, but if you're talking to somebody that's right next to you, you normally turn to face them. But because we want to speak to the audience, and same becomes true in like a video, you're going to want to cheat the camera. So we generally do a 3/4 view, and that gives us the relationship between characters or character and environment while still facing the camera. Frontal shot, just like what it sounds. The character's positioned directly in front of the camera's positioned directly in front of your subject. It becomes a little bit flat, but it's very straightforward and direct. You want to connect your camera to the audience, so you have them facing right towards you. Not necessarily that you need to break the fourth wall and have them look into the camera, but just having them facing directly towards the camera. Profile shot would be a direct side view. So we've got our front, side, 3/4. Depends on what your character's doing. If your character's, you know, baking or washing dishes or something like that, you may want to do a side view to show exactly what's going on with the character. And last but not least, we have the over the shoulder Over the shoulder is where you've got two characters talking to one another. You get the, I'll just show you here. You get the shoulder and kind of neck or head of one person, and then you can see the full secondary character. So it's great to really show the relationship between two characters. It also helps frame, your shot, or really getting focus on the character. The main thing you need to pay attention when you do over the shoulder, and we'll talk about it later as well, but it's called the 180-degree rule. So if I have character here, character here, they're facing each other and talking. What I basically need to do is draw a very tiny line between them, okay? And whatever side my camera is on, let's say my camera is over on this side, I can never cross that line. So let's say this is Voldemort and this is Harry Potter. If I'm gonna do an over the shoulder of Voldemort and Harry's here, that means that my camera is over here. So I've already set that up. So this means if I were ever to go over the shoulder of Harry, it would need to be reversed like this. So this would be Harry and this would be Voldemort, because you can never break that 180-degree line. If you do, if you flip them, we get very confused at who is who and where they're standing in the environment. Okay? So I know that was a lot of verbiage and a lot of me just kind of talking at you, obviously, because this is just a video. But look into these, see what you think, see what they mean, do some research, and then look back at your knock-knock joke and see what you're using. Did you do the whole thing as a medium shot? Would it be better to start out with an environmental, wide shot, establishing shot to set up your scene, and then go into it? So a bunch to think about. Take a look and let me know if you have any questions. Again, don't hesitate to email me, and I hope you have a great week. I'll talk to you all soon.